This is a side-by-side comparison of how my arms used to look versus how they look now. I can confidently say that they've pretty much doubled in size, and in this video I'm going to be giving you the exact system I used to achieve this transformation. The first thing I did was to choose the exercises I was going to do and just stick with them. So for the triceps, I do two different exercises. The first exercise is the overhead tricep extension. The reason I do the overhead as the first exercise is because it targets the long head of the tricep. The long head is the biggest part of the tricep, meaning that if your goal is to build the biggest arms possible, then you should really prioritize the long head, okay? So this is going to be the first tricep exercise you do when you're training the triceps. You can either do this with a cable, with a straight bar, a V bar, but honestly, I prefer doing it with like an easy bar, if you know what that is. I can put a picture on the screen. I prefer doing it with that, but honestly, you should just experiment with what you like the most, what is the best on your joints, and just stick with that, okay? That's the first exercise and the foundation of your triceps training. After you figure out which overhead tricep extension you're going to do, you're going to find a tricep pushdown. So for this, you can either do a straight bar cable, you can either do a rope, or you can do a V-bar. I prefer the normal, just straight bar because you can have the highest load in my experience. But again, you need to experiment with this because training isn't just about absolute optimal. This is what you need to do. Like, that isn't how it works. You also have to factor in consistency, enjoyability, and for that reason, you need to experiment and just see what feels the best for you and your joints and overall what you enjoy the most. So, okay, once you figure that out, you've got your tricep training down. That's basically it for the triceps. Now let's move on to the biceps. For the biceps, you really only need one primary bicep exercise and then a secondary exercise, which I'll explain a little bit. But for the primary exercise, you can either do a preacher curl, which is my personal favorite because it just really isolates the biceps really well and it doesn't use any of the other muscles really to stabilize or anything. It's just a pure bicep exercise, which is really easy to do, honestly. But you can also do a cable bicep curl, a barbell bicep curl, and yeah. Overall, I'd start by trying the preacher curl and just seeing how it feels. If it feels kind of weird or risky because a lot of people think for some reason that you're going to get injured from it, then don't do it. But I definitely recommend the preacher curl, I'm going to be honest, out of all the exercises I've tried. Then for the secondary exercise, you actually want to do a hammer curl. This isn't really a bicep exercise. It's inherently a forearm exercise that hits the biceps a little bit, but it does help to give a little bit more of a thicker arm appearance. And again, as mentioned, it does hit the biceps a little bit, but of course, the primary bicep exercise you choose is going to be the main one that helps your biceps grow. Okay, so now that you've decided exactly what exercises you're going to be sticking with, it's time to go over the practical things. So like the sets, reps, etc., right? So first of all, let's talk about these sets. In my opinion, the optimal sets is having one warm-up set and then 2 sets all the way to failure. This ensures that you get everything out of the muscles, and honestly, it's the most effective way to progressively overload, in my opinion, as long as you're getting the effective amount of rest. For the reps, I recommend a 5 to 8 rep range, okay? So basically what you want to do is pick a weight where you get between 5 to 8 reps, and then when you eventually can do 8 reps, you up the weight a little bit to progressively overload, and then try to get into the same rep range again until you can do that weight for 8 reps, and then etc. So it's kind of a progression model like that, okay? So you do this for every single exercise 2 times a week or 3 times a week. That was it for how you grow your arms. You maybe expected a little bit more or like some niche, specific, complicated tips like a lot of other influencers give. But in reality, it really is a simple process that the fitness industry just overcomplicates a lot. You pick a couple of exercises that target all the muscles you're trying to hit. You do them consistently, train hard, and repeat. That's honestly exactly what I did to make my arms bigger. And that was it for this video. Goodbye.